You know, from the moment we're born, it feels like a story is already being written for us, right? A script for what a good life is supposed to look like. But what happens when that story just doesn't feel like it's yours? Today, we're going to dive into that journey, the journey of finding your own true path. And it's not guided by some map someone else gave you, but by an internal compass that you build yourself. And that really is the big question, isn't it? I mean, it's so easy to just follow the script you've been handed, to check all the boxes that society lays out. But the real challenge, and honestly the real reward, comes when you find the courage to pick up the pen and decide for yourself what the next chapter is going to be. And there's actually a name for this feeling, this sense of being on the wrong path. It's called the borrowed life. It's a life that's built on a whole foundation of shoulds and supposed tos that we get from our families, our culture, our schools. And it can look really successful from the outside, but on the inside, it just feels hollow. Why? Because the blueprint wasn't yours to begin with. Okay, so how do we even start to write our own story? Well, here's the thing. It doesn't start with having all the answers. Not at all. It actually starts with having the guts to just question the script you've been given. And believe me, this first step, it's often the one that shakes things up the most. I love this quote from Joseph Campbell. What's so powerful about it is the focus on letting go. It suggests that this more authentic life isn't something we have to build from absolute scratch. It's more like it's already there, waiting for us, if we can just find the courage to loosen our grip on that safe, predictable, planned-out version of things. So let's look at what that actually means in practice. The planned life is really rigid, right? It's all about getting that external validation, making sure other people approve. But the waiting life, that's fluid. It's guided by what feels right on the inside, that internal resonance. It's basically the difference between following a checklist and following your own curiosity. But, and this is a big but, letting go of the plan means stepping right into the unknown, and that can be absolutely terrifying. This part of the journey, learning to embrace that wilderness of not knowing, it requires a completely different kind of strength. This amazing line from Dune isn't about pretending you're not scared. It's about facing that fear head on. Look, fear is a totally natural response to uncertainty. The key is to not let it become that mind killer that just paralyzes you and sends you scrambling back to the safety of that borrowed life. It's about acknowledging the fear and then taking the next step anyway. And let's be real, these are the big ones. These are the fears that keep so many of us stuck. The fear that people will think we're just weird. The fear that we're going to try something new and just fall flat on our face. And maybe the most powerful one of all, the fear of letting down the people who had a totally different plan for us. Just recognizing them, just naming them, that's the first step to walking right through them. So if we're not following the old plan, how in the world do we navigate? Well, the answer isn't to go out and find a better blueprint. The answer is to build an internal compass. See, a blueprint is static. It's fixed. It tells you exactly where to put everything. A compass, on the other hand, is dynamic. It's alive. It doesn't give you the final destination. Instead, it gives you a direction. It gives you your personal true north, which lets you navigate whatever terrain you happen to find yourself in. So how do you find that true north? Howard Thurman gives us the key right here. He says, stop focusing so much on what the world seems to be asking of you. Instead, turn your attention inward. Ask yourself this: what gives me energy? What sparks my curiosity? What makes me feel truly and deeply alive? That feeling, that's it. That's your compass needle pointing north. Okay, so we've questioned the script, we've faced the fear, we've started to build our internal compass, and now comes the most important part of all, actually taking that first step on your own path. This quote from Emerson just completely reframes the whole goal, doesn't it? Maybe the ultimate success isn't about achieving some specific status or outcome. Maybe the greatest accomplishment is just the daily act of showing up as yourself in a world that is constantly pressuring you to be a copy of someone else. So let's just bring it all together. This journey to authenticity really unfolds in 4 movements. First, you have to dare to question the life you've been handed. Then you face the fears that are inevitably going to pop up. Third, you tune in to what makes you feel alive, and you use that as your compass. And finally, you just start walking, one small step at a time, moving toward your own truth. Ultimately, your destiny isn't some big, complicated puzzle that you have to solve. It's a path that you get to walk. And you are both the traveler and the person blazing the trail. So the question is no longer, what am I supposed to do? The real question becomes, What step will I choose to take next?